Thanks, guys. I'm just going to preempt the fact that I think some of my slides may have been mixed up on the sending to the setup guys here, so I may just power through them regardless. My name's obviously Ben Grant, co-founder of Grounded Packaging. To be honest, I never thought I would end up in packaging. It's not the type of industry you describe as having any real luster. However, what it lacks in sex appeal, it makes up for in scale and complexity. And it throws up some chunky problems that need solving. When I sat down to think about what I might want to say up here, I thought there was no point harping on about what people already know. The problem of plastics and packaging, it's a visceral thing and everyone gets it. But the more I reflected on it, I changed my tune a little. It's worth drilling into as the issues are complex and the numbers are quite staggering. Plastic has proven itself as a particularly destructive and deathly influence on the natural world. It's clogging the oceans and killing the marine life. What's probably less understood is the effect that it might have on us. It's filtering up the food chain and into our bodies and bloodstreams, and the effects of that are still very much TBC. The biology of marine mammals isn't that dissimilar to humans, and that should be cause for concern. Every week, most of us will consume about a credit card's worth of plastic, which you can't really see on the screen there. But 52 of those a year is a fair bit for the body to contend with. People often talk about the fact that by 2050 there will be more plastic in the ocean than fish. But forget about 2050. Scientists at the Ellen MacArthur Foundation indicate that by 2025 there will be 1 tonne of plastic for every 3 tonnes of fish. That is more than enough to cause dramatic imbalances. 2025 is not some date in the future that can be ignored. 2025 is now. As a business wanting to make a change and move away from plastics, it is an absolute minefield. The packaging industry, put simply, is full of bullshit and greenwashing. You don't know who to trust or where to go. Innovation exists in silos. The material science is hard to decipher or understand where and how it might apply. Businesses tend to make decisions based on guesswork, not data. There is a willingness from business to change, but the complexity creates paralysis and inertia. But what is the right answer for businesses? Unfortunately, the right answer for any particular business is always it depends. And it depends on a number of things. Your size, the markets in which you operate, the local infrastructure, the type of products that you sell, margin profile and sales channels, to name a few. It needs to take into account key risk factors. Take a business whose main activity is selling $300 dresses to wealthy customers in Sydney and Melbourne. The chances of any packaging ending up in the environment is slim to none. Compare that with a business that operates selling snack foods in Southeast Asia. There might be a 50 or 60% chance that it ends up in the street or in the ocean. Which leads us to circularity. The answers I just went through are obviously wildly different. The scenarios I went through are wildly different. And the answer to what is the right approach in each one is distinct. In the first one, you should probably be focused on maximum use of recycled content and trying to design for an end-of-life system that might work. In the second, biodegradability is probably the only thing that should be a factor. Although carbon is important, it's not the crux of the issue. It is the concept and notion of circularity that is the key consideration. Sustainability data in packaging is poorly understood. Carbon only tells part of the story. Circularity is the key thing, and sometimes that aligns with carbon, and sometimes it doesn't. The material circularity indicator is a calculation that measures the circularity of a product. It's been developed by the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, and it encompasses 3 core things. The use of recycled or renewable content for manufacture, its utility and usable life, and then end of life. So recycling, composting, remanufacturing, etc. But also beyond that, the likelihood of that outcome actually occurring, so whether it ends up in a recycling system or not, and the material recovery rates from that process. So what does that look like in real life? Despite lofty goals and publicity statements from large corporates, the reality is that progress towards a circular economy is limited. Right now, everyone is still utilising, a majority of people are still utilising shitty materials that don't really work. made from virgin petrochemicals, designed to be used once and to go into landfill or be incinerated. The next step, which is where we primarily operate as Grounded, is to get people into better materials, to utilise the technologies of the future, the building blocks from the likes of Samsara, PHAs made from waste, etc. And the third step is to not only use those better materials, but to design systems that actually work, that repurpose, recycle, remanufacture efficiently and at scale. I'm sure most of you will be familiar with ZeroCo here, but what they are attempting to do is build a closed-loop system, which is awesome to see, but very, very challenging. So that leads us to Grounded. All of this sounds hard, and it can be. At Grounded, we're on a mission to simplify it, to create transparency and a clear path to navigate for businesses. The way that businesses think about, procure, and manage their packaging will undergo a sea change over the next 5 to 10 years. The packaging industry is archaic, slow-moving, and wedded to valueless commodity plastic. It is ill-equipped to deal with the change that is about to take place. Grounded is building a highly specialised procurement platform to educate businesses and aggregate access to the next generation of packaging materials and manufacturers, underpinned by sophisticated sustainability reporting and workflow management tools to automate and digitise traditional models of delivery. Dinosaurs exist, and they are thriving in the packaging industry. Grounded is bringing together the technology and material science to make a real difference and drive meaningful change. So we've started off with a specific focus on flexible packaging, which is one of the largest and fastest growing areas of packaging globally. It represents a uniquely complex and challenging market from a sustainability perspective. Sustainable materials currently represent a fraction of the total market, but it's that fraction that we're looking to build a leading position in, and the size of that market will balloon in the next 3, 5, 10 years. For some scale, currently the total spend on flexible packaging is estimated at $250 billion USD. By the end of 2025, that's projected to be $300 billion, and the penetration of sustainable or sustainability materials, is in the low single-digit percentages. Despite our focus on flexible packaging, the technology we're building and our modelling tools can be applied to any area of packaging. So there's definitely no right when it comes to sustainable packaging, quote unquote. There is better and worse. Different businesses have different considerations, and our approach is an agnostic one, working exclusively with what we see as the future of packaging materials. Broadly, they fit across 4 key categories. The first is bio-based and compostable, as was touched on a moment ago. The second is bio-based and recyclable, so made from plants and compostable, or made from plants and recyclable. Made from post-consumer recycled plastic. And the fourth is high-barrier paper and fibre to replace plastics altogether, things that can be recycled in a paper stream, which actually works, or works more reliably, we'll say. So as I've gradually been calling out, packaging can be a complex business, and we are building the technology and tools to try and make it simple to navigate. Tools that allow our customers to understand, specify, order, manage their packaging needs, and model and report on sustainability outcomes. There are a number of components to that system. First is an intelligent diagnostics engine that drives better decision-making and surfaces what the right answer may be. The second is Blueprint, which is an online prototyping tool that brings material data and sustainability considerations into the packaging design process from the outset. The fourth is Scope, which is a sophisticated modelling tool that allows us to break down packaging-specific sustainability data, particularly as it relates to circularity and the components thereof. The fifth is what we call Streamline, which is an intelligent packaging procurement platform, which is supply chain management software that enables procurement teams to manage numerous projects and packaging specs alongside compliance documentation, certifications, and sustainability performance. To digitise, the aim being to digitise, automate, and report on what are currently high-touch, slow-moving manual processes. So everybody in this room, I'm imagining, will be aware of the 2025 packaging targets and public commitments that have been made. Gartner predicts that 90% of businesses that have made public packaging commitments aren't on track to meet them. Just yesterday, APCO came out saying that they are moving their 2025 targets for recycled content out to 2027, but that is likely to be pushed further, I'd suggest. Most businesses don't know where to start or how to track progress. As with carbon targets, the packaging targets are set to fail. There is an urgent requirement to make it easy for brands to source, understand and report on their packaging and sustainability targets. Grounded is aiming to build that system. We're only relatively young. We launched at the start of 2020. Fortunately, irrespective of that, we've been able to generate some reasonable traction, revenue into 8 figures, 40 million plus single-use items replaced, strong growth rate and operating margins. How do we make the boat go faster? It's not rocket science. It's time and talented people and the capital to facilitate that. Thank you.
Right, we've probably got time just for 2 quick questions for Ben. Obviously, all our speakers will be around today, and your job is to try and corner them at some stage and ask them lots more questions, but we've got a couple of minutes now. Anyone got any immediate questions for Ben? Yeah, just there.
Yeah, thank you, Ben. My name is Brian with Endeavour Environmental. It looks like your platform does a really good job kind of on the front end of designing packaging. Does it also have any benefit on the back end for sustainability reporting around packaging?
So the platform sits on top of what we've built. It's quite a sophisticated sustainability calculator which allows flexible LCA and circularity reporting. You can focus that reporting forward or back for decision making or retrospective reporting. The first tools that we've built have been more focused forward to help solve our current problems, which are that of education and decision making.
One more question for Ben? No? Oh yeah, we've got one. Great. Rachel?
Thank you, Ben. I'm just curious as to how you veto the suppliers on your platform. So when they make claims around providing recycled content packaging or bioplastics, what sort of checks and balances do you perform on them?
Yeah, sure. So we rely, we vet our suppliers a number of different ways, but generally all of the suppliers or the material suppliers that we use have chain of custody certification around recycled content. Obviously that's only emerging in plastics. It's more established in paper streams. But in bioplastics, it's a little bit different. The certifications tend to be more around, whether something's actually compostable or recyclable as opposed to the feedstocks. It's part of what we're trying to build from the reporting and analysis platform is to allow people to actually understand the impact and nature of different feedstocks, and to try and surface the key considerations because they're really, really poorly understood.
Fantastic. Round of applause for Ben.